wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Today I'm going to present you about a thesis conducted by Yulia, students from Rahmi University. The title is an evaluation of English language teaching programs in Indonesian junior high schools in the Yogyakarta province. This evaluation is to evaluate the teachers in the Yogyakarta, especially in junior high school. In the junior high school, which is the researcher take the sample from 14 schools. Next. The reason why the researcher conduct this research is because first of all, because of the Indonesian government has specified a national education standard consisting of the 8 national standards. The first one is graduate competency, content, process, personnel, infrastructure, management, funding, and assessment standard. But unfortunately, most of the teachers in Yogyakarta, especially for the junior high schools, doesn't teach the material based on this national education standard. Next. But because of Yogyakarta is one of the big cities, the decentralizations happen to the big cities. For example, like Jakarta, Yogyakarta, or the other places which have many schools. The decentralizations in education created challenges such as, first, the lack of capacity at local level to assume responsibility from the central government, and a culture of conditioning individuals to follow orders from the top, implementing rather than initiating or designing policy. From the second point, we can see that the schools, which is located in the place, in the decentralization's place, seems to implementing the technique that already been used by the other schools, rather than creating new or designing a new material for the junior high schools. Next. And the assessment and supervisions of the teachers are rarely occurred. It means that the teacher there is no one supervise the teachers, how the teachers teach the class, or how there is no a standard assessment for the teacher if the teacher is qualified enough or not. And then in the service training for teacher was lacking. We can see that in Indonesia there are few training that been conducted to teachers because of the main reason is because lack of funding, and the next is lack of monitoring and supervision from either principal or district supervisors. The principal doesn't take the charge how to manage the teacher or how to make the teachers teach the class well, and that is one of the reasons why there are reasons. That is one of the reasons why we need to evaluate the English teachers of junior high schools. And the last one is most teachers have insufficient capacity, in particular regarding the pedagogical and professional aspects. We know that most of the teachers of English, especially in junior high schools, doesn't continue their study into the highest degree. They just stop on the undergraduate degree, but we can see that undergraduate degree doesn't enough to make them qualified enough to teach English good. And then next, and then due to the pressure to prepare students for the national examinations, most teachers ignore the notions of communicative competence. The goal of learning English in Indonesia, as the government said, that the students of Indonesia have to able to communicate or have a competency to communicate actively in English. But unfortunately, because of the national examination, the teacher forget about these rules and they more focus on how to answer the national examinations correctly. And then their attention was more on how to develop linguistic competence, and they did not give proper attention to actional, social, cultural, or strategic competences. Most of the teacher strategy in teaching English is just teacher-centered activity, because the teacher focus only how to develop linguistic competence like grammar or vocabulary. They don't see the beauty of the language, like how to interact with others, regarding the socio-cultural of the students, or the strategic competencies that it is also important to develop. And the last is, there was lack of motivation for both teachers and students to communicate in English despite the linguistic demands of a global world. We know that in English class, when the teachers come, the teachers are rarely to speak English to the students, and the students doesn't want to speak English as well. It is because there is no interest in both teachers and students to speak English, because of the demand of the government is that, because the curriculum say the teacher have to be able to teach students how to answer the questions on national examination or the other examinations. Next. And that's all why the researcher find that it is important to evaluate the English teachers in junior high schools in Yogyakarta province, because of there are reasons that make English is no a good important subject to learn by the students, because of there are lack of between the teachers and the students in learning English. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.